and welcome to the 13th and 14th Annual Andover Athletics Hall of Honor Ceremony. My name is Susan Jenkins Warren, 79, and I am the co-chair of the Athletics Committee, along with my colleague Amanda Adams, class of 93. It is our pleasure to welcome you all here tonight to celebrate the induction of these great athletes. This occasion is bittersweet, however. Although we are able to have so many more of you join us virtually, we regret we are not able to be with each other in person. Before we begin, we would like to acknowledge the inductees in reunion classes of O's, 1s, 5s, and 6s. These athletes and scholars that we honor tonight are great role models for our students today. We are humbled to share this virtual stage with each and every one of you. This wonderful initiative, the Athletics Hall of Honor, was founded by Dick Phelps, 1946, and Jim Meade, 47. We would like to recognize them and thank them for their vision. In 2012, we installed a plaque in their honor that reads, Phillips Academy and the Alumni Council offer profound thanks to Richard J. Phelps, 46, and James M. Meade, 47, for inspiring and championing the Andover Athletics Hall of Honor. Amanda?
Thanks, Susan. The mission of the Hall of Honor is to recognize and honor alumni, teams, coaches, and other contributors to athletics from Abbott and Phillips Academies who displayed exceptional athletic ability or otherwise contributed to athletics, and who continued to lead a life that embodies the values of the academies. Since the onset of the Hall of Honor, the alumni, athletic trainers, coaches, and teams that have been inducted into the Hall have spanned 143 Abbott and Andover class years. They have excelled across a wide variety of sports, on the fields and rinks, on the parquet floors, wrestling mats, in pools, and on the trails. Tonight, we induct 6 individuals and 1 team into the Athletics Hall of Honor class of 2020, and 5 individuals into the class of 2021. To begin the introduction of the inductees, I have the honor tonight of introducing my friend and former teammate, Allison Coughlin Averill, Andover class of 1995 and 2020 inductee into the Hall of Honor. Ah, Allie, I may always remember you best as a 14-year-old first-year student at PA. Allie started at Andover as a junior when I was an upper. We played 3 varsity sports together, soccer, ice hockey, and lacrosse. Allie stood out almost immediately, and not just because she was tall. Allie had a knack for the net in every sport. She scored hat tricks on the varsity ice hockey team in her first year, and eventually ratcheted single-season scoring records in both soccer and lacrosse. She capped her career at Andover as an Athlete of the Year and went on to Princeton. Allie played 4 years of varsity ice hockey at Princeton, where she was named MVP in her senior year and was twice a finalist for the Patty Kazmaier Award, which, in parallel with the Hobie Baker Award, is given annually to the top collegiate women's ice hockey player. In general, Allie loved to play, and maybe even a bit more like so many high-achieving athletes, she loved to compete. As long as I knew her as an athlete, she was always intensely pursuing perfection and always pushing for a little bit more. Allie's daughter, Anne, one of 4 ice hockey playing daughters, is continuing that drive for excellence on PA's girls ice hockey team today as a member of the class of 2023. Above all, I will always think of Allie as a good friend, a great mom, and the best co-head counselor of games at BB&N summer camp that there ever was. And so I'm very happy to have Allie honored today in this way, but I'm most happy to have known and know her. Ladies and gentlemen, Allie Coughlin.
Thank you, Amanda. Truly, it is a skill to make me seem worthy of this honor. And thank you also for the seasons and years on the field and on the ice. I definitely should have passed the ball and puck a bit more. It was my privilege to play on your line in hockey, to share time on the soccer and lacrosse fields. Thank you to the committee for the consideration, all the planning and coordination. I'm humbled to be a part of this group, the 2020 inductee class, as well as this year's 2021 athletes and all of those who came before us. It is not lost on my hockey-obsessed family that I have somehow found myself in any company with an actual NHL star. I wish I had known Hope Barnes and seen her row or been on the sidelines for a lacrosse game in 1965. John Clark and I played the same sports, him blazing an insanely impressive trail. Charles Myers could have run circles around me even if I was riding a bike. And the games that James Shea turned Andover's way sound like some of the most memorable in its history. He and I share a college alma mater. And while we are avid Bruins fans, we always love to watch Chris Kreider and find ourselves even occasionally cheering for the Rangers. The Andover thread that is woven through my life is one that I have always been so proud of. The time spent on campus and competing for and celebrating all things Big Blue, my connection as an alum and a network of friends, and now the immense pride I feel as a parent on the sidelines, hearing some of the very same cheers I remember screaming and watching the latest generation of Andover athletes. I found an amazing group of friends at Andover, many of whom will gather vaccinated and in person next weekend. My college roommate, a PA soccer teammate, my three-sport best bud, still a constant connection in my life, and the many friends whose careers and families I cherish witnessing and supporting both near and far. Andover has offered a map of happiness and joy that began for me with the teammates and coaches I found here. Of the many people who left a mark on my life, some incredible ones are on campus at Andover now. My lower year daughter knows one former teammate as the now Dean of Students. The current head of the girls varsity lacrosse program was a teammate. My head soccer coach and I have daughters who are PA classmates. One of our trainers, a former AD, continues to ensure all of today's athletes' health and safety. Our assistant soccer coaches, both single then, but married to one another now with three amazing girls of their own. She looks pretty much, well, exactly the same and is championing countless athletes in numerous sports, leading the athletic department and continuing to dominate on the soccer sideline. My assistant hockey coach, also remarkably unchanged since those seasons, is a cluster dean and has led the athletics department and every female hockey player since my time. I know she must remember the passes I didn't make and be surprised by the ones that my daughter does. Countless others were such a part of my time at Andover, including my fearless lacrosse coach and her wonderful girlfriend, once accompanying me and a teammate via private plane flown by my teammate's then senator father to an all-star game, was a role model on and off the field, and one of the first in my life to proudly live hers in a way that I've always thought of as an example for my four girls, as we encourage them to love and live in the way that they feel defines them and not how anyone else does. My head hockey coach, another example of patience and kindness, even when managing raging and dramatic high school players. I think of him often when I'm now coaching myself. A former Andover line mate was in the rink stands this past season beside me as we cheered on our own girls, often line mates themselves. My brother, also a former Andover athlete and graduate, has two daughters who play the same sports we did, and so many teammates and friends from PA. Some who were at my wedding, which was officiated by a long-standing and incredible Andover English teacher and her husband, my brother's Andover soccer coach, and my cluster dean of then Rabbit Pond. It is all of these people, friends, coaches, classmates, that are the Andover I will always remember. Unending gratitude to my parents for believing in me as an athlete, even when I ran alongside the sideline in soccer and back-checked invisible players on the ice. I do think they gave me an actual referee jersey one year in recognition and jest for my alongside of the play approach. My father, only cheering my life and memory now, was my very first fan. A champion of female athletics and a pretty tall guy. My near 6 feet served me well at Andover. I think in soccer, it might have been a designated play to clock me in the head near the opposing net so that the ball could bounce off my skull in redirection. My teammates had remarkably accurate aim. It was my height and also my speed, or lack thereof, that had the team coin me and another tall teammate BSGs. This teammate was in the very first class of athletes inducted into the Andover Hall of Honor. She was an insane basketball player and rower and the very first female fighter pilot to graduate Top Gun. And so I'm thrilled to be paired with her as a former BSG, big, slow girl. It was height too that aided me in lacrosse at the draw, reaching up higher than most other opponents and near the cage too, to receive passes and then shooting from a fortunate angle too elevated for most defenders' sticks. In hockey, it was probably stride length and early exposure to the game that gave me some advantage, all thanks to my parents. My mother, nervous then watching her children compete, ecstatic now watching her granddaughters, was actually wearing her own Gunga costume in the rink for a playoff game a season ago. I remember some of the wins, the Soccer New England Championships, hard-fought battles in hockey, and New England titles in lacrosse, but I remember more the pasta carbonara team dinners, the Pat Benatar hit me with your best shot pep rally dance, incredible Exeter Geek Days. It is not the games that I recall most clearly, but the people. Athletics are a gift. Every contest an opportunity to practice or play or just be together. I know that more than ever now. I think we all do with what has been missed or changed over the past year and a half. Thank you for allowing me to remember my seasons at PA with such incredible fondness. Thank you for this group of athletes to share memories and a moment with. Thank you to Andover for the spaces to compete, for friends, teachers, coaches, competitors, for my husband, my parents, mostly for my 4 girls. There is no playing surface in the world I would rather be on than in the stands watching and cheering you on. Thank you.
My name is Maria Elias, class of 1982. It's my distinct privilege and honor to introduce the next inductee into the 2020 class of Andover Athletics Hall of Honor. Hope Barnes was one of 6 children. She grew up in Massachusetts and spent summers there and in Canada, where the family hiked, camped, and sailed. Her father always told his kids that there was, quote, nothing that they couldn't do, unquote, and Hope took that advice to heart. She began at Andover as a lower in 1973, the first year of coeducation. And as an upper, she became varsity field hockey's starting goalie. The team had an impressive record. Hope went to the University of Washington in 1976 and joined the women's crew team. In 1978, she transferred to Penn, where she captained the undefeated women's rowing team. She earned a spot on the 1980 Olympics team, but did not compete because of the US boycott of the Moscow Games. In 1981, she won silver in the World Rowing Championships, and in '84, she was captain of the women's crew at the Summer Olympics in Los Angeles. While attending graduate school in medicinal chemistry at University of Washington, Hope was the 1985-86 chair of the Women's Olympic Rowing Committee. After the '84 Olympics, Hope's athletic focus switched gears a bit. She pursued her love of the mountains, becoming an extreme skier and mountaineer. She accomplished many first female descents, the most notable being Nevado Copa in Peru at 20,302 feet above sea level. She was very involved in the Women Climbers Northwest in Seattle. Tragically, on January 28th of 1981, Hope died in a fall while ice climbing on Dragontail Peak in Washington's Cascades. She was honored posthumously. The University of Washington awarded her PhD. The Barnes Trophy was created to honor the women's forewinner in the head of the Charles. She received the 1981 Ernestine Baer Award, formerly Woman of the Year by USA Rowing, for outstanding contributions to the sport. Penn's Hope Barnes Award, established in 1981, is presented to the student athlete who embodies outstanding commitment, leadership, and achievement as a member of the women's crew team. The Hope's Barn Fellowship Fund was established by Hope's family to support and encourage talented graduate students in medicinal chemistry at the University of Washington. In addition to all of her active athletic feats, Hope was an avid knitter. Her sister Faith is fortunate to still have several sweaters made by her. Hope loved desserts, especially custards and brownies. At the time of her passing, she was about to embark on a fellowship in Australia. Hope was a driven individual. She worked hard, but played just as hard. Hope wanted others, especially women, to enjoy the activities she was so fortunate in which to participate. She truly is the embodiment of a Hall of Honor honoree. Accepting this award on her behalf is her sister, Faith Barnes.
Thank you, Maria. The athletic achievements that Hope is being honored for are well known. Today, I want to tell you about the women behind those achievements. Hope wanted to be a judge when she was young. She was deeply committed to fairness. The women's crew team at Penn was treated very unfairly. For example, their boathouse was 2 miles off campus and had no heat or running water. Hope worked tirelessly with her coach to eliminate this unfair treatment. Their efforts led to Penn's decision to build a women's addition to the men's boathouse, And the success of the 1980 women's crew team was a catalyst for the successful fundraising campaign and construction of this boathouse, which opened 2 years after Hope graduated. Hope had a kind heart and knew when someone needed support. A classmate at Andover told me that Hope showed up at her dorm room on her 16th birthday with a donut topped with a birthday candle to help her celebrate, as it was the first time she would not be spending her birthday with her family. Hope was smart and determined. In 1978, the Women's National Championships were held in Seattle, and the two coaches had to select athletes for the Olympic Development Camp. Amazingly, Hope was not selected. But rather than complain, she offered to drive some rowers and tow some shells to San Diego if they would let her train with the team. They agreed. As one of the coaches said, Hope solved her problem by understanding what the team's challenges were and creating a solution while getting what she wanted. A management lesson I have tried to remember all my life. When you were with Hope, you had her full and undivided attention. She used this skill to build relationships with the crew members on the boat. On the 1980 varsity women's crew, only 3 of the 8 rowers were seniors, and melding the different levels of experience was a challenge. As Hope said at the 10th year reunion of the 1980 crew, it was the epitome of a team effort. Nobody was a standout in athletic talent. Everyone worked very hard. When the boat was set, we felt that there was a real opportunity to have something special. It was the coming together of a tremendous diversity in people and the overcoming of some adversity. That was Hope. Giving credit to the entire team, even though it was her leadership that propelled the 1980 crew to its undefeated record, which still stands 40 years later. Hope would be so honored to receive this award. Thank you.
Good evening. I am Diane Hurley, Andover class of 1980 and Hall of Honor class of 2014. And I have the great pleasure of introducing John G. Clark, Andover class of 1969 and Athletic Hall of Honor class of 2020. John Clark earned 9 varsity letters in soccer, ice hockey, and lacrosse in 3 years at Andover. John was captain of soccer and hockey, a leading scorer in all 3 sports, and the Press Club Award winner. At Yale, he played varsity soccer and ice hockey and was the high-scoring starter of the soccer team. After Yale, he has enjoyed an eminent career in education. He has also been a loyal volunteer to Andover. By all accounts, John was one of his era's very best all-around gifted athletes, excelling in all 3 sports. He made his efforts look easy, his teammates play better, and everyone have more fun. But his fun and ease were supported by an intense work ethic, and he never missed a practice or a game. John played for the love of all sports. His 3 renowned coaches at Andover, Dee Clemente, Ted Harrison, and Bob Halberd, as well as his trainer, Jake Bronk, are all fellow members of the Hall of Honor. And we know would have been delighted to share this evening with John. John's classmate, Nate Cartmell, describes Clarky as the most enthusiastic and natural athlete he ever knew. He was even a joyful fan. Nate describes watching baseball games together when Dancing Clarky donned wig and costume to drum up fan support and cheer the team on to home field wins. Warmest congratulations, John. Your athletic excellence and love of every game brought success and delight to your teams and to your communities.
Thank you, Diane. I appreciate those words. I am indeed flattered to be inducted into the Andover Athletics Hall of Honor. And I'm going to reiterate a little what you just said. I recognize I'm joining a select group, including all of my Andover coaches, the trainer, Jake Bronk, who taped me, 6 teammates, including soccer and lacrosse teammate Jimmy Shea, who's being inducted today as well in the class of 2020, and the brother of my Andover roommate, all members of the Hall of Honor. Through sports at PA, I accrued countless memories, made lifelong friends, and was part of a time of evolution in high school sports. In 1961, when I was 10 years old and growing up in Providence, Rhode Island, Brown University constructed me an auditorium for their ice hockey team. And I say team because there was no girls ice hockey team at Brown. They believe the Pembroke Pandas broke out in the late 60s. Me an auditorium was just 2 blocks from my parents' house. And throughout my childhood and before coming to Andover, I was a regular at Brown hockey and soccer games. And Brown had good teams in both sports in the 60s. And Meehan even hosted the NCAA tournament in 1965 when Brown was a semifinalist that year. Among the stars that I watched on Meehan ice were future Hockey Hall of Famers Tony Esposito, playing for Michigan Tech, and Cornell's Ken Dryden. It was at Meehan that I learned to play hockey, joining a Bantam team that in 1965 played a game against Andover's junior team at Andover. It was my introduction to PA, and I was smitten by the place, applying the next fall for admission and getting my letter of acceptance from another Hall of Honor inductee, then Director of Admissions, Bob Sides. Athletics were the cornerstone of my Andover experience, and I played soccer, hockey, and lacrosse for the 3 Hall of Honor coaches that Diane referenced: Frank DiClemente, Ted Harrison, and Bob Hulbert. I was the recipient of a number of Deke's wisecracks, drawn to rapt attention by Jigger's statements of utter fact, and can still see the bird's bemused grin at practice the day after a big win. I feel I am representative of a long ago era. In the 60s, postgraduates were becoming a fixture on our teams, especially hockey. Athletes were more likely to play 3 sports in season and not specialize in any one. And a number of our games in all sports were played against college freshman teams, a long ago relic, at venues that are also long gone, like Harvard's Watson Rink and BC's McHugh Forum. I know there are more than a few athletes at Andover during the 60s who played 3 sports and played them well, who are worthy of this honor, and I suspect and hope to see more Andover athletes from this era elected in the years to come. Before closing, I'd like to give a shout out to the 1965 undefeated boys lacrosse team, about to be inducted later in the program. But for an 11-9 defeat to the Brown freshmen on a Wednesday in Providence, the 1969 edition of the lacrosse team, my senior year, would have finished undefeated as well. I must say that Bob Hulbert's lacrosse teams were the most prepared and fundamentally sound teams I ever played on. And finally, let me just say that being overwhelmingly left-handed and left-footed was a definite plus. I extend my congratulations to my fellow inductees and my thanks to Andover and the Athletics Committee of the Andover Alumni Council for this special honor. Thank you.
Let me first say that it is with great honor that I share these remarks on my brother Chris on his induction into the Andover Athletics Hall of Honor. Since Chris was born, his teachers, friends, and certainly our family members would describe him as, well, active. From jumping on top of the refrigerator at daycare or showing me how to climb over my crib as a baby, to jumping out of pools at friends' houses, Chris's athleticism has always been remarkable. There has not been a sport he didn't want to try, nor that he didn't excel at. Even on the lacrosse field, a sport he only picked up at as a 14-year-old, Chris was offered opportunities to play at the Division I level. Chris is, of course, however, more well known for his hockey career. He's been a part of and led many impressive teams, including an Andover, New England semifinalist team, 2 Boston College national championship teams in 3 years, a gold and a bronze medal U.S. junior team, and 4 world championship teams. Not to mention his professional career, which began in the midst of a Rangers 2012 Stanley Cup run. He ended the playoffs with 5 goals, an NHL record for most playoff goals before playing in a regular season game. 10 years later, Chris has played in over 1,000 games and 7 Stanley Cup playoffs, scoring a total of 268 goals. Despite his years now away from Andover, Chris continues to carry non-Sibby with him. You will find him in his free time helping with the Garden of Dreams Foundation or the Slap Out Epilepsy event in honor of our cousin at Andover's own Harrison Rink. Just this year, he was nominated by the Rangers team for the King Clancy Memorial Trophy, which is given to the player who best exemplifies leadership qualities on and off the ice and has made a noteworthy humanitarian contribution in his community. To our family and those who know Chris best, this is certainly no surprise. And still, Chris is incredibly humble. I will end with this story, which I think captures so much of his character. Recently, on a family cycling trip, Chris completely dusted everybody on the ascent to our final destination. And I mean truly dusted. Other members of the trip were astounded by his fitness and asked what he did for a living. To which he simply responded, "I work for Madison Square Garden Company. It's not very interesting." Ladies and gentlemen, my brother and biggest role model, Chris Kreider.
Thanks, Katie. First off, I want to say thank you to the Academy. Thank you to the committee for considering me and ultimately selecting me, which came as a huge surprise. And it's an enormous honor and incredibly humbling to share this experience with all these outstanding athletes and alumni. I'd like to quickly share an anecdote. I think that kind of epitomizes my time at Andover, and it actually began on my recruiting trip when I met Coach Dean Boylan. We asked all the right questions, my parents and I. Ultimately, where do you see Chris within the lineup? What do you think his chances are of, getting on special teams? And he looked at us and was basically like, he's going to have to make the team, which was very refreshing considering we went to a rival school on a recruiting trip. I won't mention the name of the rival school, and they made a lot of promises. So when Coach Boylan said, he's going to have to make the team, I felt like that was an incredibly genuine response, and I felt like I was home in a lot of ways. Over the course of my time at Andover, I came to meet some truly incredible people and people who truly care about who you are as opposed to what you are. And that's something that stuck with me for the entirety of my life up to this point. And it's a value that I hope that I never lose sight of. And I'm very appreciative for the education that I received at Andover, but eternally grateful for the relationship fostered over my 2 years there. The teachers, the coaches, the staff, my teammates and close friends, those are people that are still my closest friends to this day. And I believe that the adage of, it takes a village to raise a child can aptly be applied to the career of any athlete who has any semblance of success. And in my case, I know that it took a city of supporting, loving, caring people to get me to the point where I am currently in my career. So I'd be remiss if I didn't thank my parents for the long hours that they worked to give my sister and I the opportunity to attend Andover, and to thank my sister for putting up with those long car rides and early mornings, and it was basically every single hockey rink in the New England corridor. So I'm just tremendously humbled, honored, and grateful to be considered and to be welcomed into the Hall of Honor. Attending Andover ultimately was the best decision that I've ever made in my life. And it just eternally grateful to have had the opportunity to attend Andover. So thank you.
Congratulations, Chris, and good evening. My name is Brian Burke, a 1975 classmate of our next inductee. It is my pleasure to introduce you to Charles Myers and share why we are honoring him tonight. It's a great story, so let's get right to it. It's kind of crazy. It's now almost 50 years since my classmates and I arrived on campus from around the world. Over in England, a very young Charlie Myers was growing up with his American mother and his British military father. He jumped at the opportunity to come to the States and attend Andover, but he came as a young 13-year-old junior. And when he skipped a year, get this, he's now entering upper year at 14, senior year at 15, and he graduates at 16 and a half. Let that sink in. Young Charlie, he had no grandiose athletic ambitions upon arrival. He was 13. In fact, his first athletic test was the one we all remember as new students, the physical aptitude test, PAT. You know, the one where they toss you in the deep end of the pool, you swim to the side, you pass, you start to sink, you spend the rest of the semester running. Well, you guessed it, Charlie ran that semester, and he's been running ever since. His Andover athletic career really began his senior year. And remember, he was competing with and against 18 and 19-year-old seniors, PGs, and college freshmen. But still, Charlie quickly became Andover's #2 distance runner. He lettered all 3 semesters and won Athlete of the Week honors and finished second in the New Englands. Young Charlie was now graduating Andover as a young man, and he would now be known as Charles and just getting warmed up. After taking a well-deserved PG year at the prestigious Eton School back in England, Charles took Columbia by storm. He won 8 varsity letters. Because he was their leader, his teammates elected him captain. He led them to the Ivy League cross-country championship and was awarded the coach's outstanding athlete of the year honor. Oh, and he met his wife, Christina, in the library. Clearly, Charles has some moves he's not sharing. After college, he represented the New York Athletic Club. He ran for Adidas. He ran onto the cover of the New York Times Sunday magazine, and he ran right into the US Olympic time trials. But let's cut to the chase, shall we? Imagine being able to say you're the best at something, anything, in the history of Andover. That's a big deal. Andover's been around for almost 250 years. So let me ask you, do you think you can run fast? Maybe you do, but let me just say you're not as fast as Charles Myers. No Andover alum before Charles, no one after Charles has run a marathon in less than 2 hours, 16 minutes, and 37 seconds. He's the man. He sits on the throne. If you want to knock him off, you need to beat 2:16. Good luck. I remember 30 plus years ago, the big thing was, should I train and run the New York Marathon and try and beat 4 hours? Charles would have finished, showered, had dinner, and caught a flight to Chicago by the time the 4-hour people finished. He's that fast. When I recently spoke with Charles, I asked him what he is most proud of. I thought for sure he would say 2:16, but in typical non-Sibby fashion, his answer was he's most proud of his daughter, Henrietta. Clearly, Charles has his priorities in order. And yes, Charles is also pretty good at publishing. For the past 30 years, he's been the publisher of Rizzoli, New York, an internationally recognized book publisher. And he's won a ton of awards. So if you want to talk books or you're in New York, give him a call. I'm sure he'll pick up, maybe challenge him to a race. So now the young kid who began his career in the deep end of the old pool will see his name go up on the wall of the new pool. Talk about coming full circle. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me, my fellow 1975 classmates, his wife Christina and daughter Henrietta, the entire Andover community and current hall members in welcoming Andover's newest member to its Athletic Hall of Honor, Mr. Charles Myers.
Wow. Thank you, Brian, old friend, and himself a great hockey player, both at Andover and Notre Dame. And thank you enormously, the Alumni Council. I'm not sure spending years and years running round and round in little circles meets the highest standards of non-Sibby. but this honor does give me a great, great forum to thank Andover. As a refugee from the horrors of English boarding school, think no further than Lord of the Flies, it's all true. Andover really was my paradise found and the most wonderful place to grow up. To my fellow inductees, it was being surrounded by people like you, so super passionate about your pursuits on and off the field, that inspired all my confidence and commitment. As Brian embarrassingly relayed, I had a really slow start. I was certified by PA as an athletic disaster as a junior, but by my upper year, many of my peers were all pro. However, that's as in all probation. And seeing this, Steve Marks, who was a very inspirational English and film teacher, challenged me to run cross country. He needed recruits and I badly needed direction. And it's fair to say we were both equally surprised by the results. There's a mystique, I think, cultivated about the loneliness of the long distance runner, but really it's a sport whose training is all about companionship. So to my Andover teammates who are 75s, and I think many here tonight, especially Harry, Mark, Cannon, and Wynn, thank you for suffering with me and for suffering me on all those long runs. And to my role model of a captain, Paul Suslovic, to Coach Doug Harden, who had been a formidable collegiate champion, and of course to Coach Steve Marks, all my thanks for making it seem so normal to try to reach for the moon. To my longtime nominators and cheerleaders, Henry and Brooks, thank you so much. And last, to my late mother, she was the very opposite of a sports parent. Her idea of a pep talk before races was to sit me down and say, please, darling, whatever you do, don't injure yourself. I'm not sure what sport she thought I was in, but she did very much believe in trying your best. And she'd be very pleased with Andover for recognizing this most improved athlete. Thank you so much.
Good evening. My name is Heejin Chang, class of 2005, and I would like to brag a little bit about Mr. James Shea, class of 1970, and Athletic Hall of Honor, class of 2020. Though I did not know Jim during his years at PA, as I wasn't quite yet born, I got to know him really well during the induction process. I truly felt the amount of dedication he put into athletics, academics, and most importantly, to those around him. At Andover, Shea was captain of the basketball and lacrosse teams. He led the lacrosse team to win 9 out of 10 games his senior year, included the season with New England prep school champions. There was no surprise when he was selected by the Philippian as athlete of the year for his strong performances and determination in lacrosse, soccer, and basketball. Potpourri described Shea as being on the honor roll many times and the recipient of too many prizes and most all-around person in his class. No surprises again, Shea was the winner of the Yale Bowl as well as the Schubert Key Award at Andover. After his 4 years at Phillips Academy, Shea went on to Princeton University, not only excelled in academics and athletics, but also demonstrated his skills in sportsmanship and leadership. He was not only the captain of the lacrosse team, but he also won the Higginbotham Trophy, awarded to the Princeton senior with the most outstanding play, distinguished sportsmanship, and gentlemanly conduct. After graduating from Princeton in 1974, Shea went on to University of Virginia to earn a law degree. After service as a law clerk to a federal judge and as an assistant in Maryland's Office of the Attorney General, Shea joined Venable, an Am Law 100 firm, where he became partner in 1985, and from 1995 to 2017, served as the firm's managing partner. January of this year, the mayor of Baltimore appointed Shea as Baltimore City Solicitor, where he continues to walk the path of non-civi. His advice for success is work hard, never compromise on issues of integrity, and treat everyone you meet with dignity and respect. It is my privilege and honor to introduce you, Mr. James Shea, class of 1970.
Thank you, Heejin, for those very, very kind words. And I want to thank the committee for according me this honor. I think it's safe now, however, for me to admit that I wasn't a great athlete, at least not by physical standards. John Clark was a great athlete. My basketball coach, the late Frank DiClemente, universally known as Deke, used to introduce me as his captain by saying, he's short, but he's slow. No, my advantage was not talent, but from the fact that I love sports, the games, and the competition. I learned a lot from athletics. I had wonderful coaches at Andover, but I have to say that coddling was not part of their methodology. Dr. Gillingham was my Latin teacher and my first Andover coach. He did say that I was fleet of foot, but he also concluded quite accurately that he, meaning me, must work hard to do well. My lacrosse coaches, head coach Hulbert and assistants Coward and Farrar, pushed me hard. Whenever I got knocked down, which happened all the time in practice and in games, all three would start yelling in chorus, "Get up, Jimmy Shea, get up." Deke was my coach in soccer and basketball. I treasure my relationship with Deke to this day. The first words he ever directed at me after I got in the wrong line on some drill were, "Shea, you horse's ass." And the last words he uttered to me at a reunion 30 years later were, "My God, Jimmy, you've put on weight." And in between, there were many exchanges, frequently punctuated by, "Geez, Jimmy, come on, boy." The competition taught me how to win. My lacrosse teams won 3 straight New England championships and never lost to another prep school team. Quiet confidence was our hallmark. Athletics also taught me about losing. I came to understand that losses were inevitable, but it was not that you lost. Everyone loses at times, but it's how you react to defeat that counts. Get up, Jimmy Shea, get up. Sports brought me many teammates and great lifelong friendships. The Andover lacrosse teams I played for from 1968 to 1970 produced more than 24 Division I college players and 6 or 7 collegiate varsity captains, including my predecessor and successor Princeton captains, Rob Reynolds and the late, great Phil Hooper. You can see them on the PowerPoint in front of you in a photograph taken a few years later. Over the 14 seasons of school sports, I grew from a boy to a man. And all these years later, I am a living proof of the adage, the older I get, the better I was. Thank you all so much for according me this honor, and my congratulations to all of the honorees this year, both the classes of 2020 and 2021. Thanks again.
Congrats, Jim. Hello, everyone. I'm T.I., class of 2000, and I have the privilege of introducing the 1965 boys lacrosse team. After a conversation with 3 members of the team, it was easy to understand why this group was so special. I loved hearing their stories and understanding why being inducted into the Hall of Honor meant so much to them. Some people would say that they had a perfect season, but as a coach, I'm not a fan of the idea of a perfect season. I'm not sure how you all define perfect, but I believe that the season was great, meaningful, because it was filled with imperfections that saw this team overcome some adversity, deal with multiple challenges, and ultimately 29 individuals came together as a cohesive unit to produce the first ever undefeated and untied lacrosse season in school history. In the Philippian preview before the season, the headline describing the team read, "Holberg's Shallow Lack Squad." From super low expectations in 1965 to being inducted into the Hall of Honor in 2021. It takes a lot of non-sibbiness, grit, determination, and a little bit of luck for a team with that label to accomplish so much. My favorite part of their story is when I learned that the season culminated with the 15-3 win over that other school that shall not be named. It is my honor to introduce Daniel Warren, captain of the 1965 lacrosse team.
Oops. I hope my stick work was better than it is on the screen here. Thank you. It's been a great joy to prepare for this with all the other members of the team. But thanks first to Doug Perney, our track captain, who gathered all our stories in the Philippian, to Terry Kahn, our second goalie, but lead editor and founder of the lacrosse program in Cohasset, Massachusetts, where our current coach comes from. And Randy Evans, football captain, crease defenseman, and by the way, captain of lacrosse at Princeton too, not named before. And founder of a lacrosse program in Jacksonville, Florida, including inner city teams and a team in Japan. And Japan once played Jacksonville. So I have two anecdotes, basically. I'm not going to read all these names, but I'd rather hope that a couple of anecdotes speak for the spirit of the team. John Mills was centered our third midfield, and he centered two rookies, Buck Walker and Dave Ludden. And John said to me recently, we were supposed to be giving the first two midfields a breather. But Buck could run like the wind, Dave could dodge and shoot, and I was wicked good on ground balls. And in the first time that I had bonded with underclassmen at Andover, and we did more than hold our own, which was kind of the understatement that drove our team. My own anecdote comes from, and my own reconnection to the team, came in my late 40s and feeling rather stuck in my job and my life. At the time, I went to a vocational counselor and she said, write of two joyful events before you were 18 years old and tell me about them next week. So when I came back, the first event was my father towing home a 12-foot wooden sailboat, which I stripped, puttied, sanded, and painted into fresh life. The other, much to my surprise, because I mostly remembered Andover as a boot camp, was playing on our 65 lacrosse team. Bobo, Barn, BI, and Randy, the big guys with the big sticks, worked the ball up to our end of the field where we attackers could play around and have some fun. Once around the horn, sticks high, overhand passes, step to the ball, as Coach Holberg taught. We were well coached. But here's the transcendent event. It was a ritual that must have happened 20 times. Jamie Kilbreth and I would be tossing the ball back and forth behind the net. And one of us would look out and tilt our head right. And Ted McLean on the crease in front of the goal would mirror and go right, his defender following, but we would throw the ball left behind Ted through the forest of sticks into open air, into the blue sky, the great beyond, where Ted would spin, rise, and flip it into the goal. It's pure grace. Creatio ex nihilo, something out of nothing. It was beauty out of chaos. And I'm grateful for those times, and may those playing today share such times and memories as well.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Jenny Savino, and I'm the Director of the Alumni Office here at Andover. A warm congratulations to Allie, Hope, John, Chris, Charles, Jim, and the 65 lacrosse team. The fields, the courts, the waters, they looked different this year, yet this spring they did come alive. We wanted to share some of the wonderful sights with you this evening. Following this video, we will move to the induction for the Athletics Hall of Honor, class of 2021. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Chris Barraza, PA Class of 95, and I have the distinct pleasure of introducing Lewis Brown, PA 99, whose accomplishments, frankly, need no introduction. Lewis's records, MVP awards, and championships speak for themselves. And frankly, they're all the more impressive given that he achieved them while battling through injuries. So, on a note of levity, I think it's fair to say that Lewis at 100% would get a speeding ticket. But equally impressive is what Lewis has done off the athletic fields. He went on to graduate from Georgetown Law, where, unbeknownst to both of us, we overlapped. And, I'd like to say that that pushed him over the top, got him into the Hall of Honor, but by that point, he'd already achieved everything he'd achieved, so no dice. And then he went on to work for a prestigious law firm, but in a very non-civvy manner. Lewis decided to go into working in public interest. He is currently a public policy advocate where he focuses on issues impacting urban communities. And the last thing I'll say that struck me in getting to know Lewis during this process is his modesty. And I think, frankly, that that's a common theme amongst the inductees here to the Hall of Honor, is just being decent, good character. And so congratulations, Lewis, and without further ado.
Thank you so much, Chris, for that tremendous introduction. Hello to all my former classmates who are joining via Zoom. Hello also to all of the alumni from other classes. Appreciate you being here. So I want to say, first of all, thank you to the committee
for this tremendous honor. I'm humbled to be included in these classes of inductees. Also want to congratulate my fellow inductees. One of the most amazing things about being an Andover alumnus for me is the sense of connection I feel to any student or teacher or a staff member who walked that beautiful campus. And that feeling is reinforced for me here today as I'm being inducted into the Hall of Honor alongside alumni from various generations. It's no stretch to say that Andover changed my life. It's also not a stretch to say that I very nearly didn't have the Andover experience that I ended up having. As amazing as a place as Andover is, when I first stepped foot on the campus as a student, the place was amazing but overwhelming. It was somewhat intimidating to me, and most importantly for me at that time, it was different from my hometown of Memphis, Tennessee. The people looked different. They spoke differently. Hardly anyone could understand me because of my thick Southern accent. And so I didn't fit in, and I was concerned that I might not ever fit in. And I spent more than a few mornings and evenings alone, eating alone in Commons. And I very nearly left that first term. But things changed for me when sports came into my Andover life. So it started with football, JV, and then varsity. I started to feel what I felt was a chasm between my classmates and me started to close. And then track changed everything. The success I had on the track, the relationships I made with my teammates and my coaches crafted for me a sense of identity and belonging in the Andover community. I finally felt like I knew what my place was, or I had a place. And it gave me confidence that sort of serves as a foundation for me to start to fully appreciate and engage in all of the benefits that Andover offers. And so my Andover journey began with me eating alone at Commons and ended with me having deeply meaningful relationships and experiences, so deeply meaningful that it's hard to articulate. And over the course of that journey, I learned how to think critically about the world. I learned the value of inclusiveness, a value that I still hold dear today and a value that I pursue through my work as a policy advocate. I forged a wonderful, deep relationship with Kwesi Christopher, who some of you may know was killed in Iraq in 2007. Kwesi taught me a lot that first year at Feast. He literally helped me learn how to write. He challenged me, and he continues to teach me today. And I met my wife at Andover, Lauren Henderson, class of 2000. And we have a beautiful 17-month-old daughter who I want to show you guys now, has a little Andover jacket on. And so she has a few years to go to apply and maybe matriculate into Andover. But so I'm deeply honored that the school has decided to honor me for my participation in track and football in an aspect of my Andover life that provided so much value to me as a student and that has continued to impact my life until today. So I want to thank the committee again. I want to thank everyone who had a role in my induction into the Hall of Honor today. I'd also like to thank my coaches, football and track coaches, Coach Strudwick, Coach Lang, Coach Mo, Coach Bernieri, and all of my teammates who made my participation in Andover sports tremendous and something I'll never forget. I'd also like to thank some other folks who made the Andover experience possible for me and made it what it was. So Bobby Edwards, who was the dean of what was then called CAMD, who served as a sort of surrogate a parent to so many of us at the school, and who continues to be a mentor. Linda Carter Griffith, who was the head of our cluster, my cluster the first year, Pine Knoll, and who was instrumental in keeping me at the school when I thought I wanted to leave. And my classmates who really made that time special. And so there's so many to mention. I won't mention them all for fear of leaving someone out. But thank you. I'm deeply appreciative to the committee, to the council, and thank you.
Congratulations, Lewis. My name is Susan Warren. I introduced myself earlier, class of 79, and it is my distinct privilege to introduce our next Hall of Honor inductee, Elizabeth C. Kent, better known as Betts. Abbott class of 1973, the final graduating class of the Academy. Betts is quite an accomplished athlete, and she will share with you her journey into athletics, which may have had a little to do with the fact that her family home on Salem Street backed up to the Phillips Academy track. To explain why Betts is deserving of this award, I might simply state the incredible trivia: that she is an Olympian, a member of the Olympic rowing team of 1980, or that after rowing crew at Dartmouth and being awarded the Julia Greer Award for the greatest contributor to the sport, she went on to win the national championship in the four in 1978. Or that she completed the Pan Mass Challenge, 2-day challenge, a 190-mile ride, an incredible 26 years in a row. Or the fact that she's climbed 48 mountain peaks in New Hampshire, as well as Mount Kilimanjaro. Any of these athletic accomplishments are truly impressive. The combination is beyond remarkable, but they're even more extraordinary when you consider the historical context. You see, Betts was a pioneer. She was a pre-Title IX athlete. And what that means is she achieved this extraordinary success with neither the financial or the social support, the societal support of competitive women's athletics. Prior to the passing of Title IX in 1972 and the implementation in 1978, the ruling body at the time, the Association of Intercollegiate Athletics for Women, they emphasized women's participation in sports as the most important aspect, and they de-emphasized winning. So how does a day student at Abbott, which offered very few interscholastic competitions, become an Olympic athlete? The answer is, it was plainly in her nature. Among the characteristics of a great athlete, one could argue, are dedication, motivation, determination, self-discipline, ability to manage stress and focus under pressure, leadership ability, love of teamwork, and a competitive will. Betts could not have achieved so much had she not possessed and consistently demonstrated these admirable character traits. So it is wonderful that we have the opportunity to recognize her for her medal in this regard, just as much as for her accomplishments. May I introduce to you Betts Kent.
Thank you so much, Susan. And thank you to the Hall of Honor Committee and the several Abbott friends who supported this nomination. I grew up in Andover on Salem Street, bordering the Phillips Academy track. There was a hole in the fence in our backyard, and this became my gateway to athletics. I watched track meets, lacrosse games, saw my older brothers Dan and Brad compete for PA in soccer and football, used the tennis courts with my dad, and learned to skate at the rink that's no longer there. I later walked through the PA campus each day on my way to and from Abbott and took some classes at PA my senior year prior to the merger. My life and love of sports were shaped not only by Abbott, but by my close association with PA. At Abbott, I made friends who broadened my horizons well beyond Salem Street. I thrived in the school's academic excellence and learned to love mathematics, which shaped my college and career choices. I worked really hard on my tennis, took up field hockey, and tried lacrosse until I saw a good buddy get a broken nose. Despite my height and awkwardness, I embraced the winter terms ballet classes. Abbott's high standards and the discipline expected of us in the classroom, in the gym, and on the athletic fields were right up my alley. I learned to row at Dartmouth College, attracted by the beautiful Connecticut River, my younger sister Margot's enthusiasm for rowing at PA, and the energy of a startup rowing program in Dartmouth's second year of coeducation. During senior year, a visiting oarswoman who'd competed in the 1976 Olympics told us, "Any one of you could do what I've done." I took that to heart and moved to Philadelphia to throw my hat in with the best women's program in the country, Vesper Boat Club. I found a job, great teammates and coaching. I won a national championship and tried out for the national team. This led to European travel and international race experience. In May 1980, at a selection camp in Princeton, I earned my position on the US Olympic team. I'm proud to have been a teammate of Hope Barnes, whom you heard about earlier this evening. What an awesome feeling to make that team. Of course, later that summer, the US boycotted the Moscow Olympics. But 40 years later, I still race every year in the head of the Charles Regatta with my Olympic teammates. Thank you again for this honor, and I really look forward to all of us being able to gather in person in Andover sometime down the road.
Congratulations, Bets. Hello, my name is Kirsten Todd, class of 1990, and it is truly my pleasure to introduce the next Hall of Honor inductee, Kristen Kinney McDonald, class of 77. As a new upper, Chris came to Andover with a lifelong love of tennis. Inspired by her older siblings as the fourth out of 5 kids from Connecticut, she remembers hitting tennis balls against the fridge as a kid, and how patient her mother must have been. Her dad was a squash player, so she arrived at Andover with some of those skills as well, and remembers fellow teammate and senior at the time, Sarah Malesko, has taken the time to teach her more about the sport. While at Andover, Chris also loved the team aspect of field hockey. Her bio lays out her tremendous athletic achievements. The Philippian at the time identified her as one of the most talented racket sports players in the school history. She was Athlete of the Year in 1977, co-winner of the Abbott Athletic Award. She finished her senior squash season, which she captained undefeated, having only dropped 1 game the entire season, and she won interscals both years. Chris went on to play squash and tennis at Princeton and earned all Ivy in both tennis and squash. I look at Chris's sports career at Andover and Princeton with extreme admiration and respect. As a fellow squash and tennis player at Andover and Princeton, I have a sense of what it took to be as successful as she was in these sports. And while I was extremely interested to talk to Chris about her experiences and achievements in high school and college, I was dying to know how she got to Wimbledon. Her journey to the professional tennis circuit seems to be representative of her strength, her courage, her ambition, her character, and her enthusiasm for challenging herself and going after it all. As she explained to me, she embraced a feeling that she didn't have limits, that she could take opportunities as far as she wanted to. Pretty extraordinary feeling for a female athlete during those years. After college, she lived in New York City and played some local tournaments, and she said she had some good results, an extremely humble and understated assessment of her success. She said she just thought, let's see where this goes. Essentially starting from scratch as a tennis player, she played the circuit in Japan and Australia, played all the Grand Slams, and as she tells it in 1986, beat 2 British girls, one of whom she claims she shouldn't have, and found herself in the 3rd round of Wimbledon, playing, wait for it, Martina Navratilova, who would go on to win Wimbledon that year. As a tennis player, I can honestly say I can't imagine a more enchanted experience for someone who almost on a whim decides to play professional tennis, and 3 years into it has reached the 3rd round of Wimbledon, playing the world's #1 player on center stage. Chris talks about all of these accomplishments with extreme humility. She went on to law school, got involved in commercial real estate, and has raised 2 children, who certainly seem to carry her courage, her humility, and her service. This week, in fact, she and her son, a graduate of the US Naval Academy, who played tennis at Annapolis, will be playing in the National Mother-Son Tournament in San Diego, where her son is a fighter pilot, while her daughter studies diplomatic relations in Vienna. Talking with Chris has been one of the true gifts of serving on this committee. She and I talked about the mindset it took to come off of an extraordinary education when everyone is asking, what are you going to do with your life, especially as a woman, and the responsibility one feels with this kind of education to take a traditional path to success, and having the courage to try something that was not a typical trajectory. That risk has paid off in spades for her as an example of her tremendous athleticism, her character, her courage, and it gave her a life experience that is forever a part of who she is, and one from which those around her can always learn and benefit. But as we all know, success is not measured only by our achievements, but importantly, by who we are, and when possible, who we have brought into this world and how we have raised the next generation through our character, our integrity, our moral courage, our strength, and the legacy of our full life. And while Chris has much of her life left to live, she has certainly achieved success by all of these markers. It is now my honor, privilege, and joy to introduce to you Chris McDonald, class of 1977.
Thank you so much, Kirsten. That's going to be tough to follow. Thank you for this honor. I am really thrilled to be among so many accomplished PA athletic alumni. I have to mention Dick Phelps, a true inspiration to his fellow Andover graduates. When I picked up the phone several months ago and heard his voice, I had no idea why he was calling, although I've known his daughter since we were junior tennis players. He mentioned the Andover Hall of Honor and a few of the past inductees, modestly admitting his role as one of the driving forces behind the hall. As I've learned more about the Hall of Honor, I've learned more about Dick's contributions. He is truly the embodiment of non-sibby, and he still plays a mean game of tennis. I was lucky to come to Andover as an upper and find a community of curious and smart students who showed me the ropes of boarding school. People asked if I was homesick, but I really didn't have time to experience that, as between school and sports and all the new and interesting things that I was being exposed to, there was never enough time in the day. Though details are a little blurry since I graduated 44 years ago, I do remember feeling like there were no limits to what we could do. As Andover students, we could pursue our interests in whatever we wanted: squash, music, photography, or rowing, and our teachers and coaches were there with advice and encouragement along the way. It was this feeling of endless possibilities that gave me the confidence to pursue a professional tennis career as an adult. My passion for tennis inspired me to achieve a world ranking and to compete in some of the greatest tennis venues in the world. As a professional tennis player, I played in Japan, Australia, Europe, and South America, as well as all over the US. Since my time at Andover, I've coached tennis at just about every level. And I've been fortunate to meet some incredible people along the way. And I found what Billie Jean King said about sports rings true. She said, sports teach you character, they teach you to play by the rules, they teach you to know what it feels like to win and lose, they teach you about life. I've tried to keep this in mind, especially when I was the coach of my daughter's middle school tennis team. I'm so grateful to have been included in this year's group of inductees. Thank you so much for this honor.
Congratulations to you, Chris. My name is Brett Asbury. I'm from the class of 1996, here to induct Kanu Okike into this Hall of Honor. Before I get started, I want to just give a shout out to my classmates in the audience: Brian McAvoy, Abby Harris, and Whit McLean. It's great to see you guys virtually. Coach Coxon, I see you there. Parker Sides. My mother, I see you there. Hi, Mom. And Kanu, I see your brother and sister who I've met a couple times. So good to see we're getting the Andover family back together, and delighted to get started. So I'm here for Kanu Okike. He is a 10-time letter earner at Phillips Academy, where he won the Yale Bowl. And then he went on after that to play lacrosse at Harvard, where he was an academic All-American and earned the Reardon Award for being the single best male athlete in his graduating class. Following college, Kanu, the son of two physicians, went on to Harvard Medical School, where he focused on orthopedics. He currently practices orthopedics in Honolulu, so he's doing something right. He's smarter than the rest of us in that regard. And he lives with his wife and two children there. I know Kanu from our days playing lacrosse. We were teammates during his lower and upper years. And I remember him primarily as being a relentless competitor who could run all day. As you saw from the brochure, he was a 4-time cross-country letter winner, so that should be no surprise, but he could really fly. And he was a very nimble and skilled long stick midfielder. He anchored our defense and he set the table for us in the offensive end consistently throughout those 2 years. As a teammate, Kanu was second to none. But for me, it was his kindness, humility, and most importantly, his sheer genius off the field that really stood out. Just an incredibly engaging, thoughtful, kind, and smart human being. In the context of this Hall of Honor induction, I had a chance to reconnect with Kanu, and I couldn't be happier that I had the chance to reach out to him. Now we are 25 years removed from when we were teammates. He lives in Hawaii, I live in Philadelphia. We're on opposite ends of the United States. But I feel that we remain bound by our time at Andover, both on and off the field. As a peer and former teammate, I could not be prouder of what Kanu has accomplished. In short, I believe there is no better embodiment of the Andover spirit than Kanu Okike. Scholar, writer, physician, husband, father. Kanu does it all. It is my great privilege to play even a small role in honoring this distinguished Andover alumnus. Kanu, congratulations to you and your family.
Thanks so much for the kind words, Brett, and thanks very much to the committee for this honor. You know, for me, my favorite memory of athletics at Andover is ironically one of the most embarrassing. I was a lower on the varsity basketball team, and I'd just been named to the starting lineup. It was a Saturday afternoon home game, and the gym was packed. Shortly after the game began, though, I missed an easy putback. A few minutes later, I missed a layup. At the next whistle, Coach Mo yanked me from the game. I went to sit back down on the bench, but the assistant coach, Paul Cockstein, led me out of the gym while the game continued. And I felt the eyes of the crowd on me and my face was pretty red. Turns out he was taking me into the small JV2 back gym. When we got there, he tossed me a ball and told me to hit a layup. He then had me do a full Mikan drill. And I remember thinking to myself, this is pretty dumb. I already know how to do this and I'm gonna miss the whole game. So finally, Coach K led me back to the bench and Coach Mo put me back in the game. And would you believe it, the very next play, I threw down a thunderous two-handed dunk? Okay, that last part didn't happen, but I did hit my next few layups and we did win the game. So I like that story for a number of reasons. First, I think it was a good lesson in humility. No matter how good we think we are at something, there'll always be opportunities to improve, and we should never be too proud to do what it takes to make ourselves better. Second, the story is a great reminder of how important it is to do the hard work when no one's watching. I think there are so many challenges facing our society today, from international health inequities, systemic racism, climate crisis, and I honestly believe that most progress is made out of the spotlight when the cameras are off, with efforts that don't necessarily make headlines or show up on the Instagram. Lastly, I like that story because what a great example of what it means to coach. I was blessed to have so many great coaches at Andover, from Coach Mo and Coach K in basketball and lacrosse to Coach Stableford in cross country, and I think a few of them are on today. They inspired us to give our all, sure, but they also taught us important lessons for life, like how to win and lose with class. So in closing, let me extend a heartfelt thanks to all those who have supported my athletic and academic endeavors over the years, including the members of this committee, my coaches and mentors, my teammates, my parents, my siblings Namdi and Christine, both Andover alums, my amazing wife Jen, and my wonderful daughters Calais and Tiare, who are probably the best athletes in the house at this point. Thank you very much.
Congratulations, Kanu. Hello, everyone. My name is Oriaka Saida, PA class of 2011, and I have the distinct honor of introducing Hunter Washburn as an inductee into the Athletics Hall of Honor. Hunter is a member of Andover's class of 2000, yet his Andover roots go back much deeper. You see, Hunter grew up in Andover, and he's the eldest son of Peter Washburn, legendary crew coach and my beloved cluster dean back in the day. Hunter's accomplishments at Andover are numerous. He was a tri-varsity athlete in cross country, swimming, and crew, captaining each team his senior year and earning a total of 12 varsity letters. His senior year, Hunter also received the Press Club Award, awarded to students who have proven to be the most capable athletes of the year. After Andover, Hunter attended the U.S. Naval Academy and went on to row all 4 years at Navy. He served as captain in 2004 and led the team to an undefeated regular season, earning the Eastern Sprints title and the IRA National Championship. Athlete, however, is just one of the many identities that Hunter holds dear. He is a father, husband, brother, son, teammate, coach, and commander. Commander Washburn is non-Sibby personified. In his steadfast service to this country, Hunter has been awarded the Defense Meritorious Service Medal, the Meritorious Service Medal, the Navy Commendation Medal, and the Navy Achievement Medal. All around him know of his unrelenting dedication to all that he does. Many of the lessons Hunter learned as a student athlete here at Andover prepared him for this life of service far beyond the hill. In Hunter's words, sport, while not real life, is or can be a microcosm of life. And as he leads sailors today, Hunter relies on the resilience, preparation, and teamwork skills he cultivated and refined at Andover. Whether during early dawn runs to get ready for cross-country meets, rowing with his brothers and dad, or persevering through the highs and lows of competition with his beloved teammates, Hunter learned to become a leader at Andover. Commander Washburn, thank you for your service. Thank you for your contribution to the Andover community on and off the track, and congratulations, sir. Please join me in welcoming Hunter Washburn into the Andover Athletics Hall of Honor.
Thank you, Ori, for that nice introduction. I apologize I'm not able to be here today. I'm off the coast of Virginia, North Carolina right now, conducting pre-deployment training with the strike group. Fortunately, I am represented by my amazing family, Jenny, Ellison, Maren, Hagen, and Lyndon. Upon learning my selection for this honor, I paused to reflect on my time at Andover and what sport has meant for me. While growing up on campus, I was surrounded by phenomenal student athletes. I was able to follow their lives beyond Andover, then came back for reunions or stopped through on their travels. And from these remarkable people, I saw attributes with a strong character and undeniable leadership. Sport taught me life lessons that I still apply today. Sport is about preparation, about honing your craft to become the very best you can. Sport is also about human connection and understanding what inspires one athlete may not motivate another. My profession today, driving ships and leading sailors, draws from these lessons and experiences. I seek to develop the spirit that binds and inspires the crew. I endeavor to foster an environment that values resiliency, inclusion, and empathy. These attributes are the bedrock of life at Andover, and sport was a venue that allowed me to start developing my own leadership style on the trails, in the pool, and on the river. Thank you for this honor. I am truly humbled by the company I find myself in, and in awe of what the future will bring.
Hello. It is our privilege to join you tonight to accept this honor. On behalf of our daddy, Hunter Washburn. Thank you.
Thank you, Washburn kids. You did an unbelievably perfect job. Again, for folks, my name is Jenny Savino from the Alumni Office. A warm congratulations to Lewis, Betts, Kanu, Kristen, and Hunter. Thank you for your beautiful words, and thank you to the committee for doing such an incredible job in putting this program together. At this time, I would like to introduce our head of school, Raynard Kington, Andover's newest Big Blue fan. Dr. Kington.
Thank you, Jenny, for your introduction. It's really just been a delight listening to all of these incredible stories. The Andover Athletics Hall of Honor recognizes alumni who, as students, displayed exceptional athletic ability, leadership, and team spirit, and who, as graduates, live lives embodying the traditions and the aspirations of Andover. So let me speak just briefly about this past incredible year. The return to campus this spring went really quite well. Almost our entire boarding population arrived. For Andover Athletics, this past year and a half has been just an incredible test of innovation and resilience for our student athletes and their coaches. Prior to this past spring, the last interscholastic competition was on April 9th, 2020, where the girls varsity skated in the knapsack championship game of the Elite Eight girls hockey tournament. Following that game, the phrase contact tracing became widely known to all of us, and a new normal of safety measures and really radical changes came upon us. We had to reinvent the entire school, and that meant reinventing all of athletics. The last time the spring season athletic teams competitively played was during the Memorial Day weekend in 2019, since there was no spring season in 2020. But as all of you can attest, the resilience of Andover athletes is strong. For fall and winter, athletes and coaches really created a new definition of teams and competitions and what it means to be a scholar athlete. Thanks to an intricate mapping of all of our sports activities established by our athletic director, Lisa Yole, and her team, we were able to provide fitness opportunities to nearly every student. And as you can see from that video that played of shots, returning this spring to the field, Andover athletes made the most of this opportunity, and they were just thrilled, not only in wins, but also with enthusiasm and appreciation. And I think I saw a photo of my son, who's a member of the class of 24 with one of Jenny's sons. Athletics spring season included friendly competition with our peer schools, or at least we consider them friendly. They might not have. Andover athletes showed up in their full selves, and once again, a season was filled with victories and school records. To give a recap of this spring season, we had undefeated seasons in girls tennis and ultimate frisbee. Even one of our golfers, Nolan's son, class of 21, had an undefeated season. Perfect seasons were missed by just one game in boys tennis and basketball. Some sports got, boys tennis and baseball. Some sports got creative with all gender volleyball teams playing and intra-squad crew races. So while the spring season was not back at its full competitive level, the athletic spirit of our students was in full splendor. Fields, courts, and pools were busy. There was a lot of activity everywhere. And there was also a lot of activity on the site of our Pan Athletic Center, which is being built. It's on schedule to be completed for the start of the academic year 2022. Stanmar, which is a company that's building the facility, several weeks ago hosted a topping off ceremony. This is a longstanding tradition for builders when the final structural beam is put into place, and it marks sort of a milestone for the project's construction. I and quite a few others got to sign the beams, though. Up there are our signatures, and it's now part of this terrific building in the suite of facilities for our athletes. We've experienced our share of bright spots and challenges over this past year. When we announced our return to campus and competitive sports this spring, we could just see the joy in our students, athletes, and their coaches. And this evening, I heard you talk of your own joy in athletics at Andover at different times, spreading several decades. I read your profiles and am aware of the extraordinary sense of commitment and the love of competition. These students, even in this year, under these extraordinary circumstances, carried those same attributes. And while I know these current students have big shoes to fill, as they follow your legacy, I know they are going to work hard to do just that. So please accept my warm congratulations to the Athletics Hall of Honor classes of 2020 and 2021. Thank you.